We are so excited to have all of our incredible EMSC program managers with us today for Tech Talks. Today, we get to hear from Jane Lowe, who will be presenting on Excel basics using your pre-hospital agency list. Thank you so much, Jane. Our monthly challenge for this month was to download your CLEMS list in Excel and find the filter icon under the data tab. So hopefully you have had a chance to do that. If not, I'm sure Jane will show you how. And with that, we're going to let her take it away. I will be in the chat. So if you're new to Tech Talks, please feel free to say hello and let us know what state you're from. Thanks, Jane.
Thanks, Jane. Another thanks, Jane. Thank you everyone for joining today. Let's see if I can share my screen over here. Okay. Is everyone seeing the Excel? Blah, blah. Seeing the PowerPoint?
Yep, I think we can see it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Today we'll cover a little bit of like the Excel basics. We'll be using your pre-hospital agency list. Mainly we'll focus on, instead of your claims list, we'll mainly focus on the PPRP respondent, non-respondent list. If we have time to cover, we might be able to look at how you can use your non-respondent list, how you can put it in the phone calling tracking sheet as well. So before we get the data, let's look at how we can download the PPRP respondent, non-respondent list. So if you log into Tableau, and feel free to follow along if you would like to. After you log in, this will be the Explore page that you will look at. And then make sure to click on PPRP folder. Click on Response Rate Reports. Click on 2024 PPRP State Response Rate Reports. And then you will see there are 3 different tabs over there: the respondent, non-respondent, response rate by county. Make sure to always click on the first one, and meaning that we'll click on the PPRP respondent sheet. So once we click on that, it will bring you to your PPRP respondent list. What you look at will be a little different with what we're looking at right now. The state over here, if you look at the laser pointer, should be defaulted to your state, your assigned state. And then this part, instead of all, it will be your state. And then just a quick reminder, we do have a sort by function over here. By default, the dashboard is sort by the EMS agency name. You could change it to sort it by county name, EMS region, or date completed, whichever is most helpful to you. Now that we are on the right sheet, we'll want to download all the data into an Excel so we can, do some analyses. If we want to download it, look at the top right corner, this little download guide. Click on that. And then choose cross tab. Once you choose cross tab, the download cross tab option will show up. By default, it might go to the RR percentage. What it means is just the response rate, the national response rate you see over here. The number you see over here might be a little different with what you're seeing right now on the dashboard, because I prepared these this morning. So just remind that the numbers are dynamic. Instead of downloading the RR percentage, which is response rate percentage, we would want to make sure to click on respondent list instead of the RR percentage. So we can actually get all of the lists over here. Click download. And then in a few minutes, you should be able to see like a thing just pop up on your on whatever browser that you're using, and then it will be whatever respondent list. If you can't find it, you can double click it to open it, so it'll be in an Excel format. But if you can't find it, you can also go to your local drive. for the download folder, and then you'll be able to find your respondent list as well. So I'm gonna switch it to Excel so we can look at that. Awesome. Are we all seeing the Excel now? I think that's what I'm showing.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you like make it a little bit bigger though,
Yep.
so that we can see?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So what I'm gonna do is what Jane was saying. Usually it does looks really small when you first download it. Make sure to zoom in over here. There's this little function at the down. There's a plus sign on the bottom right corner. Click on that until it's like a little bigger and it's easier to see. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Over here, this is what the list will look like. Sometimes, if you look at column A, if you're following along, there might be an extra column called something like respondent sort by or something like that. Feel free to just highlight it, right click, and then delete that column. You just need to make sure that you're starting column A, but with your portal ID. So after you clean that up, let me actually, once you clean that up, you can see that, all of the things are kind of squished into one cell. And then it's kind of hard to read because everything is kind of cut off. So what we're going to do is we can resize the columns or the rows as you want. You can do it by manually dragging the side of the cell so you can see a little more. Or if you want to do it in a faster way, or if you have like a ton of data and you don't want to do it one by one, what you can do is you could highlight all the columns. For example, I want to highlight column A and then drag it all the way over to K, which is all my data are. And then use your cursor and then go find whichever column that is highlighted. And then on the edge of that column, slide through like the border of the column until you see your cursor change it to like a little plus sign with arrows on the side. Double click that, and then Excel will just automatically resize all of the columns and make sure all the size fit in all the words that is in there. So you don't have to do it manually. Another way we could do it, I'm just going to go back and demonstrate it. Let's say if you have like 200 columns of data and you don't want to highlight all of them one by one. What you can do is you can go over here on the top left corner between A and row number 1. There's this like little mysterious triangle over here. Click on that, and it means that it will automatically select all of the column and row in the Excel sheet. And then again, go back to whichever select the column that you see to the edge of it. Wait until it changes to a plus sign with arrows on the side. Double click on it. And then it's the same thing, but it is like 2 different ways that you can do it. And if you have a lot of data, the second way is a little faster for you to do it. So now that we can see everything, we can read all of the cities and the names. Oh, I also want to point out all of these agencies are fake. They're like within the EDC names, EDC people, and then all of the stuff. So the email is true, but okay. So what we'll want to do is sometimes when you scroll down, let's say if you have a lot of data, you scroll down and then the top row disappear, this row, the title disappear. And then sometimes it's a little hard to read the data. What you can do is that you can freeze the top row so it's locked and it will not move when you're scrolling down. So what you want to do is go all the way on the top of all these little functions, find the view, which is right here. Click on that. And then make sure you're choosing the first row, which is this row number 1, because that's the row we want to lock. Under view, there is a function called freeze panes. And then you can click on that. it gives you different options that you can see. The one that we want to do, at least for this demonstration, is to freeze only the top row. It also gives you a little description. I know it's a little small. It basically said, keep the top row visible while scrolling through the rest of the worksheet. So we want to click on that. You can see a little gray line underscore for the top row. So now when I scroll down, you can see the title is still here. So that's something that I recommend doing to help you read the data a little easier. So once we're done with that, there's another thing that I will definitely recommend you to do, which is one of the part of the monthly challenge, is to add filters. The purpose of the filters is to help you narrow down any specific data that you're looking for, and we'll do a demonstration. In order to do a filter, you'll want to look at the top ribbon. This is called the ribbon, the gray column that you can see here with all the functions. Go back to the data tab. And then look for the filter, which is this big funnel thing. Make sure you're choosing the row that you want to be the filter, which is usually the first row, whichever the title is. Click on that. Click on the filter. And then you can see there are like little triangle, little drop-down arrows for all of these little columns. It means that it worked. The filter is on. So now that we have the filter, I want to do a little demonstration of how you can actually use it to help you narrow down the data that you're looking for. So for example, if I'm looking for agency that are only in the North EMS region, what I can do is I can click on the region drop-down box, which is from the filter. So click on that little drop-down box, a little triangle here. Another box will show up. And then in the middle area here, you can see we have like the central, east, north, southwest, all of these regions. But as I said, I only want the north region. So what I would do is I can deselect the select all, which is the first one. So I click on that. Now you can see all of the checkboxes are blank, meaning nothing is selected. Now that I only want north, so I will click on north, check it. Now only the north region is selected. Make sure to click OK. And there you go. Now only the agency in the north region is showing up. So that's something we can do. So for example, let's say, I'm done with looking at the north region agencies. I want to clear the filter. There are two ways you can do it. The first way is to go back to where you put the filter in, which is this one. Click on that, the drop-down box. And then you can see again, which is what we did, is only north is selected. What we want to do is click on this little guy called Clear Filter from EMS region. Click on that. And then you can see all the data again. The other way you can do it, I'm going to go back. The other way you can do it, sometimes we could have like double filters, or there's so many different filters that I forgot which column I put a filter on. The easier way is you can go back to the data tab on top here. And then you look for sort and filter, little box over here. Click on the clear button over here, right by the filter. Click on that. And then it's the same function, but instead you don't have to find the column that you just put filter on. It will be easier to just do that. Clear.
15 minutes, Jane.
Oh, thank you. So now we have the filter. We talk about that. The next other thing I want to talk about is how you can alphabeticalize all your agency. I think right now it might be alphabeticalized, but let's say if I want to alphabeticalize the EMS agency name, from Z to A instead of A to Z. So what I would do is make sure the filter is on, right? And then click on this drop-down box over here for EMS agency name. Click on that. And then in the middle area, of course, you can see, these are all the agency we have that we can filter out. But we're not doing that. We're doing sorting. So look at the first two options that you see. Is that sort A to Z. Or the second option is sort Z to A. So because this list is already sorted, we'll just do the Z to A for demonstration. So let's click on that. And now you can see the list is sorted by Z to A, right? We have it start with West City, and it goes all the way to Centerview. And then again, if we're like, nah, I want A to Z instead of Z to A, we can click back on this little guy, the drop-down box, back to sort A to Z. The one thing I like about sorting function is you don't have to click OK, and then it would just automatically applied. So that comes in handy. So those are some basic things I want to cover today, at least for this part, for the respondent. I also want to point out that for the sorting function, sometimes it works for dates as well, but it depends. So for example, this one, you can click on the filter drop-down box. Let's say we were like, oh, I want to see who is the first one to complete the PPRP assessment. I can click on that, sorted by A to Z. And then it works. And then you can see that, oh, the first one who completed it, they completed on May 2nd. And then all of the follow. The
Hey,
other thing,
Jane.
yes.
Oh, sorry. Just had a couple of comments in the chat.
Yeah.
So Megan said that another way to do that is Control A and then Alt H O and 1 or I. The function that you did before, like earlier on. And
then the
then
resizing.
And then Kelly asked a question. She said a little bit off topic, but after the survey closes, is it possible for the respondent list to also reflect their score? She says that way at the state level, we can get an overview of where agencies are performing and can view the gap report and cleanse for specific agency details. So
yeah, thank you for the question. I think that will be a great idea. I will make sure to discuss that with our data manager, Patricia Mail. Unfortunately, she's not here today. But as of right now, we don't have that in plan. But I think that's a good idea, and we'll definitely discuss that.
Thanks, Jane.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
I was just gonna say the other way we could use for the filter function is, let's say if I want to see how many people completed the assessment for the first week of the survey. So I will click on the completion date and then again the drop-down box. And then you can look at all of these are the little options that you can do. So the first week of the survey is the second and the third that we have on the data here. So I will deselect the select all and then only select the second and the third, and then click OK. And then you can see these are all the agency who completed the assessment in the first week. The other thing I would want to point out is that an easier way to count how many agency is on the list right now, instead of just counting them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one by one, you could highlight the cells the records that you want to look at to count. So these are all the ones that I'm highlighting. If you look down over here, the bottom right corner, I know it's a little small, but if you have Excel on, you can see it too. It will show you how many counts there are that you selected. So it looks like we selected 5 of them right now. This function will be kind of like a preview that you can see easily that how many that you selected. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna switch to the phone calling list real quick, and then to cover some last minute things, and then we can go to questions. Let's see, where's this? Sure. So right now I'm sharing the phone calling list. Again, these are all fake agencies. These are not real. This is just kind of like an example. I already put in all of the non-respondent agency here as an example, so we can know how to use some of the functions that I'm gonna demonstrate here in a bit. Let's see. So for example, I want to show this one. I personally think it's very useful. So for example, let's say if I call all of these agencies, right, today, 12 of them. instead of putting, oh, I will put the call date as today. Instead of putting it, manually typing it for every column, I can drag it down and then it will automatically fill the dates. So I will drag it down over here, all the way over here, because I called all of them today. So when I release, you can see, hey, this is not what I want. I want all of them to be May 23rd. But you can see Excel, with its logic, it likes to add each of the date for you. So now you can see, oh, these are not the date that I want. What you can do is after you drag it down, you can see this little guy. There's like a drop down little box over here. It called auto field options. Click on that. And then you can see right now is field series. So instead of that, put copy cells because I want all of them to be the same value. Click on that. And then it will change to all of them to May 23rd instead of, the other dates that you see. So this is a function that I found it very useful because Excel always like to mess up my data and change the date. So this is something that I definitely love to talk about. For here, the last support function that I would like to talk about is with the filter and the freeze pane. I also want to point out the template, the phone calling template that we sent out already set up the filter and the freeze pane, so you don't have to do that. For example, let's say if I call this agency, Self-Time Fire Protection, and they have some questions that I have to follow up, and I want to make sure in the tracking sheet that I don't forget to follow up with them, what you can do is you could highlight them. That's something I would do. So I would select the whole row number 8, and then make sure you're in the Home tab. Click on the Field Color bucket over here under Font. Click on the little drop-down box so you can choose which color you want. I'm just going to do a simple yellow for now, just so we remember this color. So let's click on yellow. So this is something that you can see. Now it's easy to see because we only have a little bit of data. But if we have a whole like 200 data or whatever, a large amount of data, it might be hard to spot them. What you can do is you can click on any of the column that has a highlighted cell. Click on the little drop-down box over here. You can either sort by the color, so whatever, and then click on the yellow color. So what happens is that all of the columns that were highlighted will go all the way to the top. So it's easier to track them down. Or I'm going to go back over here. Or if you're like, I want to filter it to the only yellow highlighted areas, you can go back to the little drop-down box over here. Click on that. And then scroll down till you see the filter by color. And then we'll click the yellow. So now, instead of seeing all the other ones that are not highlighted, you will only see the ones that you highlighted and whatever follow-up action you want to do with them. And that's all the functions I have that I want to cover today. Jane, is there any questions in the chat?
Yeah, we don't have any questions at this point, but we're happy to use the time right now if any of you want to unmute, or if you have additional questions about anything that Jane's covered today. With the Excel function, I've got a quick question. You had mentioned in Tableau that you're downloading your list. Can you explain the difference between the full data set list and the one for state survey?
Yeah, so the full data, that will be a little different with what we showed, Jane, but I can probably show it here. The easy explanation, that one will be under the claims list. It has a kind of the same format a similar format for EMS agency or the hospital list. We did have an addition, kind of like an upgrade this year for manager to use, is instead of just downloading your full data set from claims, we also created another data set that is more condensed and it only contains the information that you need for assessment survey purposes, meaning it will have, your agency name, obviously all the agency demographic information, the contact people, and the contact information, so it won't show you, like if they have a PAC and then all the other additional things. So that's why there's two of them. One of them is specifically for assessment purposes.
That's great. Thank you for clarifying that. And if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll give you just a couple of minutes here. Any Excel questions? Jane is a whiz at Excel. So you've got a captive audience here. I think it's great.
Yay.
See all the functions and everything.
I also want to encourage all the managers, if you do have any questions, you're like, oh, if we could do it in Excel, that would be great. Feel free to contact me or Jane Osler, and then we'll be able to see, if we'll have another one for demonstration.
Absolutely. We're always looking for things that you're interested in to help your EMSC program in your state and hopefully making your life easier. While we're waiting for any comments or questions, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen again. You see that okay, Jane?
Yes.
Awesome. So I just wanted to mention that next month, we are going to be doing a PPRP response rally for our June Tech Talks. We're really excited about this one. It'll be presented by Mike Ely, who's our director, and myself. We have kind of a unique monthly challenge this month. We're going to be asking all of you to share what strategies you're using in your state to encourage EMS and fire rescue agency response to the PPRP assessment. So if you think about all of the great work you're doing, we'd love to hear any little strategy that you're using. Maybe you're using your fan group, maybe your advisory committee, maybe you've got some interesting things that you do with your regions, or promotions, either internally at the state level or through EIC. Please share those ideas and thoughts with your EDC TA. We'd love to circulate those next month. And we do have a quick question from Natasha, who says, I always forget how to do pivot tables. That'd be great for a future advanced Excel lesson. And sounds like that's something that would be really interesting to cover. I know Jane does plan to do an advanced Excel basics later on in the year. So thank you so much for that suggestion, Natasha. Are there any other questions anyone has? Comments for Jane? Okay, if you do have ideas for future Tech Talks, anything to do with an EMSC project, analyzing data, maybe you're interested in how to improve your PowerPoints or presentations, marketing or communicating data is also a really great topic to cover. We'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime with your thoughts or ideas. And with that, we'll go ahead and say just thank you so much for all you're doing on behalf of the EMSC program, especially for the PPRP assessment going on right now. We value the work that you do and are so grateful for it. You can always check us out online at emscdatacenter.org. And remember to reach out to the EMS Peace Ready support team if you have any questions about the PPRP assessment. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a fantastic day.